Joining us now is Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning. How are you, Alisyn?
I'm doing well. What did you think when you were sitting listening to Alan Dershowitz's argument there?
Let's just say there were a lot of eye rolls in the Senate. I think Professor Dershowitz has generated a lot of eye rolls during the course of his testimony because a lot of what he says is inconsistent with what he has said before, with what the consensus of scholarly and historical opinion is, with what he has said in these very proceedings, and in this case with common sense and decency. The idea that it's a defense to a president trying to fix an election, that he believes he should be elected, really doesn't pass the common sense test.
Well, I mean, you say eye rolls. I've heard kudos from the other folks on the other side of the aisle. We've heard Republicans in the hallway make the case that, well, here's a Harvard emeritus professor saying these things, and they have said, so if Alan Dershowitz believes some of the stuff that he's saying, you know, that gives us a feeling that we're in good hands, basically.
Well, that's his job. His job is to be a Harvard emeritus professor and come in and try to give some credibility to preposterous things. But I think most people, and certainly most lawyers in the Senate, know that that makes no sense whatsoever, and it would be laughed out of any criminal court proceeding for a bribery or an extortion or a political corruption case.
I mean, what he's saying is beyond laughable. I mean, our legal experts have said that it changes the very fabric of the American presidency.
Yeah, I mean, it really puts the presidency ahead of the law in the sense that the president can cheat and break laws. And because criminal intent would be required per Dershowitz's theory, I'm not sure that's true in an impeachment, but let's go with Dershowitz's theory. Criminal intent is required because this is a criminal proceeding, but the president can't have criminal intent because if his intent is to get himself reelected, that's legitimate and justifies all the activities, however dark, however mischievous, however illegal, that he deploys to fix his reelection.
You posed a question yesterday, along with some of your colleagues, about Hunter Biden's business activities that I think a lot of people have been wondering. You basically said if Republicans are so upset about Hunter Biden's overseas business being a conflict of interest, should not they investigate the Trump children's overseas business activities as a conflict of interest also? That's an interesting question, but you posed it to the Democratic House managers instead of to the president's legal team. Why didn't you ask them that question?
Well, that was Senator Udall's call who actually asked the question. I support the question being asked. And I think it's an important question to ask because I think if you're going to make the kind of arguments that they're making, extraneous arguments about an unrelated issue of Hunter Biden's personal business dealings, then it ought to be fair game to make inquiry as to the business dealings of the Trump family while the president is in office and while they, in some cases, are actually holding office themselves. You really shouldn't be able to have it only one way. It should apply equally on either side.
Sure,
I think
but
that
I mean,
was the point we were trying to make.
And I take that point, but didn't you and Senator Udall think that you should pose that to the president's legal team?
Well, they have the chance to answer it, as you know, if they feel that they have not been treated fairly. Senator Thune jumps right up and asks the question, what do you have to say to what was just said? So they have a good opportunity to respond if they wish to, and I don't fault Senator Udall for asking the president's legal team, the House managers that question.
As of this morning, do you think the American public will get to hear from witnesses in this trial?
I doubt it. What I see is a party that is bound and determined to get this behind them as soon as they can. The talk is the president wants this done before the Super Bowl for whatever constitutional standard before the Super Bowl provides, and that to get there, they're going to just try to get out of this as quickly as they can. And for them, it's kind of an out of the frying pan into the fire situation, because if they jump out of having witnesses, they then have to answer to the American public for why they denied the American public witnesses and why they violated the most recent standards of the Senate in the Porteous trial with multiple witnesses. But I think they're so eager to get out of this hot frying pan right now that they'll take their chances with the fire in the coming months.
As you probably know, John Bolton has received a warning from the National Security Council. They don't want his book published. They say that they have found top secret information in there. If John Bolton's book contains top secret information, shouldn't the NSC do something more than a strongly worded letter?
Well, I think that they actually have to clear the book for review for classified material. The danger here is that they're going to, or the White House is going to take what the NSC is entitled to do, which is to examine a manuscript for classified material and make sure that no secrets, no intelligence sources and methods are revealed, and try to expand that into their doctrine of absolute immunity, executive privilege, and so forth. Bolton is a free citizen now, can more or less say what he pleases. And if he chooses to defy the president's assertions of executive privilege, he is fully at liberty to do so. So they're a little bit between a rock and a hard place here, and we'll have to see this play out to see whether the NSC actually follows their job, which is to find stuff that is truly classified, as opposed to stuff that is just uncomfortable or awkward for the president.
Okay, but I mean, what they've said is that they have found that. They say, based on our preliminary review, the manuscript appears to contain significant amounts of classified information. It also appears that some of the classified info is at the top secret level, which could be expected to cause exceptionally grave harm to national security. And
what you then do is you sit down and you do a line-by-line review of the places where they think they need to edit out classified material, and they invited that, and I assume that will go forward rapidly with Bolton and with his publishers.
Okay, we will see what happens. Senator Sheldon, Whitehouse, thank you very much for all the information. Obviously, we'll be watching closely today.
Good to be with you.